Welcome, welcome, welcome everybody to the dungeon again. It is a new year, 2021, and we're really excited to be here with you guys. I'm going to continue my black and white journey today. It's been a while. I kind of took a hiatus from the black and white beads, but it's always something that I can fall back on, and I love working with the black and white. The way that they mask each other is really amazing, and you can get just incredible patterns just from knowing how to lay down your dots properly and your lines properly. Without further ado, let's get into this video and hope you enjoy. We'll see you next time. Take care. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments, and I will absolutely get to you. Bye. Okay, well, talk about some anxiety relief. Let's go ahead and start this bead. Hopefully, these tips and tricks will help you relieve some of that anxiety you might have when you're working with hot glass. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to build a tricolor bead, and I put the white on first, and then you'd notice I add a couple wraps there of black, but it's not quite touching the white. And this is kind of interesting because I do use gravity here to help my colors very evenly melt together. So I am holding it at an angle, and then I don't really heat that up. I just move on to the next one and get my footprint bead going, and I do the same thing. I actually create the bead slightly away from the black bead, and then I heat, use gravity, and roll very gently. Notice that the white part where I'm rolling is much stiffer, and that helps me to guide the whole bead the same width around. All right, and I'm now going to add just a little extra wrap on both sides. And when you're dealing with edges, it's one of those funky things. We'll be dealing with these edges the whole time we're working on this bead. But to get a nice, really crisp edge, you can make a wrap on the end of that bead and just roll it out using that cooler part of the bead as your guide. Be very gentle if you use the marvering, the edge of the marvering table, to push the edge in where the bead release is. Anyway, moving forward, we're going to start this pattern just with some dots. I didn't really make a perfect pattern there, but that's all right. There's a lot to do here. And what you want to do at this point, for crisper edges on those dots, you can reheat each dot individually and press it down with a knife, and that really reduces your reheat time. It pushes the glass deeper in to the black. I'm going to have to add more because it did dull the surface of the white down. Anyway, this is also a good tip, is when you're doing a stringer in a straight line like this, what I do is I make sure that the bead is slightly warm, and then I heat just the tip of the stringer. I attach it to the very end, the hooked part, and then I very gently push through the whole thing all at once and lay down that stringer of black. I'm almost laying it down on a parallel angle. And then just to push those little bits closer towards the bead hole, you can use your marvering pad, or right here, as long as your torch head is clean, you can heat each one of those up individually and just press each one down. And then again, back to the roll. Always be gentle when rolling. You're building up like a hard surface on the inside, so after a while, only the outside should really be hot at certain points. So we're going to start our masking by adding a little bit of white, and I'm just going to heat that whole thing up I'm not going to even press those down because I just need them to spread out as much as possible for the pattern. And now to do the side. This is interesting. I'll do the same thing. I'll make sure the bead is warm, and then I'll put the white stringer on the white part when I start. So when I end, you won't see any sloppiness of the stringer, and you'll have a nice crisscross, almost getting into a chessboard pattern there, I guess I would say. More dots, more dots. And what I am trying to do here is go from bigger to smaller dots. Do all your main dots first, and then start to work towards the outer edge. I've noticed that that really helps. And I do reheat and roll in between each set of dots that I lay down. Now, sometimes it's nice to have off-center dots. So that center part, I made the dots closer to one side of the previous dot than the other one. Or maybe it's the second round. There's so much that happens on this bead, it's insane. There we go. So there's our dots, closer to one end and closer to the other end of the previous dot. And that gives you, I didn't know where to put that one, but it gives you a really cool pattern as well. Moving on, we're going to add more dots on top of those little tiny black dots. I'm using a stringer, however my flame is still pretty big. I haven't really touched my flame that much. I do turn the flame up and down quite a bit depending on what I'm working on. If it's super tiny, then I will turn my torch down to a smaller flame. But here we are again, reheating and rolling, reheating and rolling. This is a great technique to learn how to make this nice rolling shape. You just really need to be careful. Oh, there I am. Yeah, working with I need the tiniest dot here. So I'm using a very, very tiny flame and just grabbing the heat. Every time I pull away, I'm pretty much ready to go for the next dot. And that's just a real full reheat and back to rolling. I will say this for practicing your roll. You want to be very careful on those first few rolls, especially if the glass is molten all the way through, because you could very easily crack your bead release if you over roll. So take your time. You don't have to get the roll all in one, the shape all in one roll. It takes time to refine the shape. So definitely take your time. You don't want to have a nice bead get stuck to the mandrel because you rolled too hard at first. Now we're getting closer to the end, and I know it's like I'm doing overkill here. There's a lot of overkill, but I had a lot on my mind and I really needed to just relax and de-stress and kind of forget about things for a while. And that's when I get very into making, this bead. I could spend an hour playing with this thing if I wanted to. But again, like I say, it's overkill. Sometimes you need it. Here's a good way to show you how I do my edges, my final edges, which this may or may not be. I don't think so. I'm going to use a little bit of clear here, and I'll pull the tip off so I don't have any bubbles. However, I say that, but if your glass gets too close to the cones, you're going to get bubbles no matter what, because the glass will boil if it's too close to the cones, period. You got to get out there, take your time. And what I'm doing here is really, I'm getting a good amount of glass hot and I'm pushing it. So I'm pushing down pretty good, so it actually is covering that whole black dot. Sometimes you want to push hard, sometimes you just barely want to touch the glass. It all depends on what kind of dot you're going for. More overkill. That's okay. I don't mind. It is helpful. However, now that I have those dots in the middle that I don't want to be pressed down, I have to do my edges differently now. So be very gentle and roll half of it. Make sure that your angle is just right when you roll. And you have something, in the middle that you don't want to press down. It's a very gentle roll. And we're not done yet, folks. Got a little bit more to go, and we will be finished. Thanks for joining me, you guys, while I sit here and relieve my anxiety. And boy, let me tell you, I feel like there's a lot of anxiety out there. So go out there and do something that you like that will help you de-stress and relax. Thanks for watching, you guys. Be safe. Good luck. See you next time.